Your browser history is probably full of lives you almost lived. The apartment you nearly rented. The job you almost accepted. The city you still wonder about. You made the choice. You even told everyone it was decided. But late at night, you still find yourself opening the same tabs again. Now, when this happens often, people may call you a chronic overthinker, and you may agree, but that description misses something important. You're probably incredibly good at gathering information, spotting tiny differences, and thinking several steps ahead. That kind of analytical mind can be excellent at research, planning, strategy, and creative work. The problem is not that you don't know how to analyze a situation. The problem is that you haven't found a reliable way to know when the analysis is finished. And when that comparison never stops, it slowly wears you out. But before you decide that you're just bad at making decisions, there's something you need to know. You might actually know what you want better than you give yourself credit for. Now, that may sound surprising, because indecision feels exactly like not knowing what you want. But psychological research suggests otherwise. People who often struggle with decisions could still tell what they liked just as clearly as other people could. You may look at a menu or a list of travel destinations and know exactly what appeals to you. The real difficulty often comes later, when you have to stop comparing and start choosing one. You may know which apartment feels more like home or which job excites you more. But the moment you have to sign or say yes, you also have to let the other option go. The word decide comes from a Latin word that literally means to cut off. And that's what a final choice does. It closes other possibilities. For a mind that loves to explore and imagine, closing those doors can feel like a genuine loss. You also want proof that the option you leave behind won't suddenly look better tomorrow. This is where two patterns start to matter. If a good option never feels good enough because you need to find the best one, this is called maximizing. And if you find it hard to choose until every question has an answer, this is called intolerance of uncertainty. Now, every option seems to have one more thing you need to check. After a certain point, you're no longer learning anything useful. You're just finding new reasons not to choose. Eventually, the deadline arrives and you have no choice but to decide. On the surface, the choice is over. But in your head, a new round of comparison is only beginning. Now, you begin measuring your real, everyday life against the best possible version of the road you did not take. This is called counterfactual thinking. The option you didn't choose gets a special privilege. Because you never lived it, it gets to stay perfect in your imagination. Meanwhile, you have to live through every boring and disappointing part of the life you chose. But because those futures feel so real, walking away from one can feel like a real loss. So when the sadness hits, it's easy to assume you made the wrong choice. But that sadness may not be regret, it may be grief. You're mourning a life you could clearly imagine, but won't get to live. And as long as you keep pouring your energy into the ghost of that life, you have less left to build the one you actually chose. So what do you do when doubt comes back and you feel the urge to compare everything again? Well, the key is to decide in advance what enough will look like. In other words, you create a clear finish line that tells you when to stop searching, when to choose, and when to review the decision. And it starts before you open a single new tab. First, write down the 3 things that matter most. Just 3. If you're looking for a place to live, maybe their natural light, a short commute, and a specific budget. These are your 3 anchors. Give them the most weight, and don't let every attractive new detail rewrite your standards. Once an option meets those 3 criteria well enough, you have permission to stop searching. Next, ask how reversible the choice is. Some decisions are hard to undo and deserve careful checking. If a choice truly can't be reversed, ask yourself 2 things. Could I live with the outcome if it doesn't go as hoped? And if that happened, what would I do next? But far more choices in life can be tested and changed later than we tend to remember. A class, a side project, or even some career moves don't have to become lifelong commitments. Instead of treating the choice as something that has to define the rest of your life, treat it as the next thing worth trying. When you replace the pressure of finding the right answer with the curiosity of running an experiment, the decision feels much lighter. Finally, after you choose, set a review date. If you accept a job, look at the decision again after 3 months. Until then, close the other tabs. Stop looking for reasons the rejected job might have been better, and pay attention to what the job you chose is actually like. Notice what you're learning, how your energy changes, and whether the job gives you the 3 things you cared about the most. By the review date, you'll know things that no amount of thinking could have shown you beforehand. You'll also have a clearer sense of how to make the next decision in a way that works better for you. Setting a finish line doesn't mean you're being careless. It just makes sure all that careful analysis actually turns into a real decision. Now, imagine Rachel. She's 32 and works in operations at an insurance company. The hours are predictable, and the health insurance is solid. But her pay hasn't moved in years. AI now handles more routine reporting, and she sees little room to grow. Then she gets a 9-month contract offer from a small health tech company. She'd be doing customer research and product strategy, which fits her strengths. The pay is higher, but she gets no paid time off or health insurance, and there's no promise of a permanent role. Both options cost something real. Staying protects her benefits, but offers little growth. Leaving could move her forward, but she might be job hunting again in 9 months. Rachel chooses 3 anchors. She needs enough income to cover her bills and buy insurance. She wants skills that will still matter as AI changes her industry. And she needs enough stability to work without constantly worrying about money. Now, she knows what to check. She prices an insurance plan to see what the higher pay is really worth. Then she asks the health tech company which projects she'd own. She also asks whether the role could become full-time and how long that usually takes. At her current company, she asks for a promotion into a strategy role. Her manager says it may happen, but can't give her a timeline. So for Rachel, the contract meets her anchors well enough. She can cover insurance, keep 6 months of savings untouched, and add real research and strategy experience to her resume. She accepts it and sets a review date 6 months away. She still feels nervous about giving up her benefits. That doesn't mean she chose wrong. She gave up something valuable, so of course she feels the loss. But someone with less savings or a child on their insurance might choose to stay. The contract wasn't the brave answer. It was the answer that fit Rachel's life. Rachel's situation is specific, but you can use the same process for other decisions too. Which apartment to rent, whether to go back to school, whether to take a job in another city. Pick your 3 anchors, check how reversible the choice is, and set a date to review it. And once the comparison finally ends, something amazing happens. You get your energy back. All that attention and vivid imagination can finally go into building and enjoying the path you actually chose. That is where a different kind of self-trust begins. It isn't about making the perfect choice or never feeling doubt. It's about knowing you can handle what comes next. You can adjust, learn, and change direction if you need to. You don't have to shrink your imagination or stop seeing all the beautiful, varied possibilities in the world. You choose one path, not because it's guaranteed to be flawless, but because you're brave enough to experience it. To help you practice, I've created a free PDF called the Decision Closing Sheet. It gives you a simple, guided framework for setting your 3 criteria, deciding how reversible the choice is, and establishing a firm review date. You can download it using the link in the description below. And if a lot of your indecision comes from having too many interests and passions you want to pursue, watch my video on the M-shaped future next. It shows you how to build a career around more than one strength without forcing every part of yourself into a single path. You can click on it right here. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.